Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today we're looking at what goddesses or other divine feminine archetypes or mythological characters or saints, etc. may have a message or a combination of messages for you. And I'm doing this inspired by just recently getting a new oracle deck from Rockpool Publishing called Goddesses Amongst Us. You see for your choice there 3 of the goddesses from that particular deck. And in the reading, there'll be 2 other cards from that to look at 3 divine feminine messengers for you, what their messages are and so forth, and how you can either combine them or work with them separately to your highest good. So that's what the reading's all about. And hopefully it will be enlightening and fun and really draw upon the wisdom of the divine feminine for you. So to help with the choice, as always, I'm putting out the numbers. So there's 3 piles to choose from today. By all means, go to more than one if you feel drawn to more than one. To help with the reading, as I say, I shuffled and asked Spirit to give me 3 goddesses that would be part of the reading and possibly lead out as the lead messenger, but they, as I say, will have 2 other goddesses or feminine archetypes. I don't know what they are at this point that I've shuffled and prepared, and we've also got some astrology there to look at the aspects of life they may be particularly talking about for you, and then from there we'll use tarot and so forth. So for pile 1 we have Pele, for pile number 2 we have Aphrodite, and for pile number 3 we have Ishtar. So that may help you choose, the imagery may help you choose, the colouring, whatever works for you. And as I say, if you want to go to more than one reading, by all means do that. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you've come to the reading with Pele, the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes, and you've also got Lady Nada, who was theoretically a high priestess in Atlantis and is now a goddess / ascended master. And you've also got the priestess card, which indicates that you are on that pathway. So I find it very interesting. I think that there are a number of combined messages here that these goddesses may be bringing you, and you're partly bringing it to yourself, but then I think it's to bring it to others here. So I think you've got 2 key goddess energies, but then there's your own inner knowing operating here. So Pele is all about fire. It's a very strong fire energy. It's about tradition and about respect, as the card talks about. She is a goddess of volcanoes, so it is about destroying the old and bringing in the new, about the flow of energy, creative energy, all of those sort of things. And she's being aspected in the 8th house, which is, I think, it's going to be about one of 2 things, this reading. For some of you, this is about a profound transformative relationship coming in and being able to let go of old patterns to bring in the new and be able to communicate that vision, possibly as part of literally a kind of a power couple that is mutually respecting and at a similar level. You know, there's that kind of energy definitely with these cards. There's also, this will be a reading for people who, from a spiritual perspective or maybe even from a kind of political or social perspective, are about breaking down the old paradigm and bringing in the new. With the 8th house, this is about death and rebirth, about regeneration, about resurrection. So, and when we're talking about the priestess energy, your own journey, your own initiation, your own spiritual understanding with the 3rd house, how you communicate that with the world. And then Lady Nada, which is a light worker, divine service, you know, the highest sort of connection to the heart with Jupiter, which is expansion. For some of you, this is a message about, as I say, breaking down old, you know, social, political or spiritual orders to bring in something that is much more light and of the heart, and communicating that and knowing a pathway. Some of you may literally be in the process of being initiates for some sort of spiritual pathway with these sort of readings. If that's the case, I think that there's something about you will respect the tradition. You know, respect is very important with Pele. There are stories that if you take the lava rock from the volcanoes there, that can be bad luck, that people send the rock back because of the bad luck that comes when they don't respect the sort of physicality, the outcome of her fiery energy. So there's definitely a sense here about coming into your own power and respect within a tradition and respect for the tradition, but also potentially being able to articulate your own version of it and how that manifests in the world. So you'll probably know, and it could be both. It could be more about a love relationship because, as I say, it's a highly transformative, almost scorpionic sort of love relationship, potentially, soul twin, twin flame, that kind of thing, if that's the case. But this is very much, if so, part of your journey, and it's how you are articulating your journey into the world. So it's a very, very strong sense here of transformative change, expansion, and communication. And that's what these goddesses want to talk to you about. So let's get a little bit more detail with tarot. So I'm going to get 3 tarot cards for each goddess just to sort of see a little bit more about what they're talking about and to get a bit more of a sense about, are we talking about a unified message, or are these 3 different aspects of your life? Is this about transformation? Is this about expansion in another area? And is this potentially around your career or communication in some way? We just want to sort of see what other energies we get with tarot. Then we're going to look on a combined level what the goddesses are saying that you understand of the situation at the moment, and then also what you're not saying. So firstly, a little bit more information on what Pele is talking to you about with this transformative fiery energy in the 8th house. I'm getting to say, interesting, fire energy. 8th house is Scorpio, so it's a water sign. Steam. There's something about steam. Steam rising, the combination of fire and water coming together. That's sort of like there's something in the air that I think then you communicate. It's an interesting transformative process with these 2 energies together. Anyway, let's get some tarot. So King of Wands reversed, Fool reversed, Page of Cups reversed. Okay, so if this is about romance, if this is about love, which it could be with the 8th house, intimate partnerships, the passion and so forth, this is suggesting that you are going to shift out of an emotional pattern. That is one of the things that Pele could help you do. It would suggest that possibly you've been in a situation with someone whose own fiery energy or own ego have been too much, or which they need to be transformed because it's getting in the way of what would be a true emotional connection. But you've learnt. This is literally the I'm not going to get fooled again type of energy. So some of you who've come here could have been in a relationship that kind of burnt you a bit, but you've learnt from it and you're ready to transform and move forward with that. If this is about something social or political, then you have realised that maybe a very charismatic sort of leader or an appealing sort of social construct or something is not what it appeared to be. You've got wise to it, that it pretends to be of the heart, but it isn't. So, examples are, political parties that claim to care about diversity and inclusion, but when you actually look at what they do, it's the exact opposite, that kind of thing. So there's something in here where Pele is saying, you are right, something was not of the heart, something was more about ego than the heart, but you've wised up to that. This is why her energy can help clear that through so that you can then, find the better relationship, the better cause, whatever it might be. But something has to shift. Something has to shift fundamentally. If you have just come across someone and you feel like it's, as I say, one of those sort of like, twin flame or soulmate type situation, she could be saying that yes, it's there, but the fundamental question is going to be, can the person get out of their ego and into their heart? And you have to be pragmatic about this and allow the transformation to occur with respect to the other person, but not at this point make a decision, because it's probably a little bit too early to know, I would say. So let's see what Lady Nada is talking about. So as I say, she's the kind of light worker energy, and with Jupiter, this is about expansion, about luck, about kindness to others, all those sorts of energies. So what does she want to talk about, and how connected is it to this power or ego struggle, I think, that you're dealing with, that Pele is here to help you with? 3 of Cups reversed, 9 of Swords reversed, 9 of Pentacles. Okay, if this is about a relationship, I think Lady Nada is saying that you need to establish yourself and feel comfortable just being yourself and on your own before you can even know whether you can work this through. So if these 2 things are connected, then there's a very strong sense here that there is a lot of transformation that's needed with the other person, and that you've got to be, so that you're not subject to what they're going through and their ego issues, you've got to be happy to be on your own, to be expansive and happy to be on your own. If it's around a social or political cause or something like that, similar sort of thing. Certainly this is suggesting, if this is somehow connected to your work, if you've been in the wrong sort of work environment that's very ego-based and not heart-based, then you can do something more for yourself, or you will be able to sort of maintain yourself and your dignity. But there is something going on. Lady Nada is here to help you work out who are the right people to be around. I feel like you've got energies around you, either friendship energies, or it could be a love relationship, but that they're making you feel guilty. They're making you feel, sort of like nervous tension all the time. This is meant to make you understand you're enough for yourself. Yeah, and if this is around a cause or something, there are people who are upsetting the apple cart, but you can stand firm in what you're doing. You're on the side of the light. You are on the side of growth and so forth. So I think she wants you to feel as independent as possible, because there's something about this situation where other people, a loved one, other people in a group, friendships, whatever it is causing you anxiety that you don't really need to have. And this is because you are the priestess. This is the thing. You're well developed. This is kind of happening to some degree because of that. It's like, and that kind of energy can be attracted to you like iron filings to a magnet. So let's see what the inner self of you, your inner priestess, wants to say to you about what they want you to communicate to the world to balance this out. 3 of Wands, King of Swords reversed, 2 of Pentacles. Okay. So again, it depends on what this is about. I do think these things are, whatever the topic is, they're all connected. So if this is about a love relationship, there's a love relationship that's more in the ego or in power and not in the heart. You're wise to that at the moment. You're watching to see if it can work out. Lady Nada is saying other people are somehow involved in this and confusing everything. Just look at it from your own perspective at this point and know that you're strong in yourself. And then you are saying, yes, I know that. The key for me will be whether or not there is the shared vision. I'm not sure at the moment, you're saying to yourself, if there is, or whether in fact this person is not the right person. I know that there is choice. I have choice. If it's around a cause or something like that, if something's got in the way again of the heart and it's ego, you are able to sort of stand in the light when there's a lot. Like this sort of makes me think of that poem that talks about if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs or something like that. There's that particular kind of energy that you have that, and Lady Nada is talking about that. And you know, therefore, that you have options about what to do. But you are very careful about what you say. I think you're in an environment, if this is not a love relationship that you're sorting through, you're in an environment where things are not always honest. So how you communicate and what you communicate, you can see you have different ways of doing it, different people you can talk to, but it's got to be clear with your vision, not get caught in what might be sort of political doublespeak. I feel like some of you are in that sort of situation in work or in a social cause or something like that. But Pele is the, as I say, the lead goddess talking through this, and she's saying, I will take all before me. And there must be respect, self-respect, and respect for the truth, respect for the common vision, respect for the heart. Where that isn't there, I'm going to take all before me. And you will be able to stand firm. Lady Nada is saying that you can stand firm and expand while all of this is occurring, but you just need to make sure that you don't get caught up in almost a tit for tat on the sort of, kind of way that this is expressed and what people are claiming. Okay, so also want to get you a Lifestyle Vision card for each, just some other information that each of the goddesses, or in your case the 2 goddesses and your own inner knowing, are saying to you, before we have a look at how you'll know that what signs will help you know that you're working through this energy, and what other supports that you have. So for Pele, we have Queen of Water, Healing Elixir. So again, this is Queen of Water. To me always makes me think of Queen of Cups. That's Scorpio, so that makes sense. There's something very Scorpionic about this. This is very intense. Whatever the situation is that you're dealing with and you're trying to transform and you're trying to resurrect or to let go of so that something better can come in, it's very, very emotional. It's very, very intense. You're highly empathic. But the point about this is healing. You may even have been trying to work in some sort of healing environment and you found that it's not what it appears to be. Something needs a major revolution. You know it very much within your soul, and there's a very Scorpionic energy around this. So I would think that the combination of Pele and Scorpio is pretty formidable. This is why I think Lady Nada here is saying you can stand on your own 2 feet. You're fine. And you are developed already. So don't doubt that. Now, in terms of the expansion that Lady Nada wants to bring you and to take you out of this sort of like environment of other people's opinions and worry and guilt that you shouldn't be carrying and so forth, so that you can expand into a sense of I will be with someone if I want to be, not because I need to be. I'll be in a workplace or a cause because I want to be, not because I need to be. That sort of sense of self-determination. We get Queen of Fire, okay, which is kind of connecting back to Pele. So Lady Nada and Pele are very much working in concert here, I think. So Lady Nada, around, you're being able to ground this energy is also bringing in some of the fiery energy from Pele. And this is about creative energy. What will you create? What will you expand? So it's definitely a sense here that you coming into it, because I feel like this is like the Queen of Wands, your own self-actualized understanding of self. And when we think about, because this talks about the sacred inner flame, and this is a sacred flame, they're connected. These are definitely connected. Your need for independence and grounding is somehow connected to what has to change here. But when we talk about the Queen of Wands, we often see a depiction with a black cat, and that is that the shadow is with her. So there is an understanding of the shadow. So I think here that Lady Nada is saying that the shadow that you're experiencing in really looking into the 8th house scorpionic side of this is with you as a strength and helps you stand on your own 2 feet. Okay, and for your own inner priestess, pile 1, what else do we have there? Throat energy, energetic expression. Yeah, this is all about how you express yourself. So it may well be in a relationship, friendships, social cause, whatever it is that this relates to. And as I say, I think it's one thing these are 3 energies of. But you'll know, it might be a couple. The real key thing here is being able to express, use your throat chakra, say what your truth is. So that's a process. Working out what needs to change, understanding that you will be fine whatever happens, that you have everything that you need and that you can expand through doing this, and then speaking your truth. Okay, so let's have a look at what synchronicities, signs, oracular or dream sort of imagery you might see as you're starting to really process through the advice of the goddesses in each of these situations. So again, for Pele, for the resurrection, the transformation energy that she wants to bring forward, we have something that would come in dreams, birth, babies. Okay, so you may literally dream about birth or babies, and this is like the new, this is the cycle. Pele comes through with the 8th house energy, burning out anything that cannot sort of like withstand the tradition and the respect and the truth of her energy. But that is to bring in the new. This is the thing about the 8th house. It's about the cycle of death and life and death and life. So we're not talking about literal death here. We're talking about the sort of sense of bringing in something new. So you will start to understand you've cleared out that which isn't working, I think. When you may see babies around, you may read about babies, you may see pictures of babies, but I think you may dream of things like that, or anything that represents birth to you. You could be watching an egg hatching or something like that. So that's when the change has occurred. The new you is rising. So then this makes sense that the new you with the Queen of Fire is rising down here and standing on your own 2 feet and in your own truth. So what sign will you have that is really kicking in? This is also coming up as a dream thing. Death, okay. What parts, this is about habits needing to change and so forth. So that's very interesting. This is almost like it's running one step ahead. So you've gone through one transformation, you've got the new birth, you've brought that into being, and then you see dreams of death and so forth. It's like you kind of look back and you see what you let go. It's also, I think, saying that this is a cyclic thing. This is why it's important for you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. You're in a longer play of this. And so you have become aware of the cycles of life and so forth. It becomes who you are, so that you know that you can withstand that. You can withstand all the transformation. You can always see that new birth is coming through. And so then what does your inner knowing, your inner priestess see? When this cycles, when you've really kind of become aligned with those cycles and understood them. And this is also a dream thing. Games, okay. And that kind of makes sense because this is the point at which you actually have to start to express what you know. And you know that you're in environments or around people where there isn't always honesty. So I think that you may dream of games, strategy, you may think about, strategic games, you may sort of see, game playing, like on YouTube or something like that. There's those sorts of energies around that, knowing that having had this profound breakthrough about the fact that you remain within change and you evolve within change, and you don't have to rely on other people's viewpoints or relationships that are not in alignment with you, and you're in that cycle. You then have to start to express what you know, and that's when you start to see the impact of this more on the material world, and how sometimes you can assess when games are being played with you. Okay, so I also want to get, with the tarot, having looked at those sort of things individually, is bring it all together. So I want to ask, what do you see and understand now? And then also, what don't you see and understand? So what do you see and understand now? Wheel of Fortune reversed, Six of Wands reversed, Ace of Swords reversed, King of Pentacles. Okay, you do know that something is wrong. You do know that something's rotten in the state of Denmark, as the bard would put it. You know that change has to occur with the Wheel of Fortune reversed here. You also know, because you will become increasingly to know the cycles, that you will be fine and that wheel will turn in your direction. But there's something that's occurred in love or in something else where you have not got the recognition that you deserved, and when your ideas have been suppressed by old orders. There's something about the old order, a relationship that's been too hard and too difficult for too long, and the person is very stubborn, or, as I say, political, social, workplace things where all that could have been you and your fortune and growth has been stopped by a calcified old system. This is why we need the volcano. The volcano has to come through. So you know the situation that you're in. So what don't you know that the goddesses think would be helpful for you to really start to click into your own power and your own knowing with this? Chariot reversed, Eight of Wands reversed, Eight of Cups reversed, Page of Wands reversed. You possibly don't know to what degree this has affected your self-esteem. Because I think you are, because you're sort of like the priestess within, you are advanced in this area. You probably think that you deal with shadow work really well, and that you kind of, and it's probably true in general, but there is something about this environment you're not fully aware of how much it has slowed you down. Like, it's really slowed you down a lot. And you need to be able to leave some of this emotional stuff behind. It's almost as though, because you are very strong, the self-made person in many ways, whether this is in work or a relationship or whatever, and because maybe of the intensity of it, you sort of felt like you had to win, you had to be able to make this work. So if it's a relationship, you have to make it work. If it's a workplace, you have to make it work. But this is saying that you're slowing yourself down. You need to be prepared to let certain things go, because you are not in the right relationship or the right environment for your true creative fire to emerge. And this is what's meant to happen. But until you go through this transformation, until you burn it all out, you can't then burn brightly. So I think they just want you to know that if you feel almost stubbornly like, I have to win this, you're actually crueling your own game. You need to be able to learn from it, get in the cycle, stand for yourself, and then you'll be able to communicate much more effectively within whatever this situation is. Okay, so let's get you a couple of archangels to help, and then we'll also get you some astrology star guidance as well. So a couple of archangels that can also work with the goddesses here to help you get unstuck and move forward into your own power and into how you can express yourself. Pile 1. Raphael, balance. So this is the healing energy as well. There is something profoundly healing by seeing this. It might feel like the opposite. It may feel like a bit of heartbreak in some way, but it is actually going to be profoundly healing. And it leads you with Raphael, with the sun here, towards your life path. So you're not going to sort of just be going through this and feeling devastated. There's a lot of healing energy that you'll have and healing support. And Michael, inner beliefs. Yeah, and with Mercury, being able to communicate what your inner beliefs are. So this is necessary. this will bring you into balance and allow you to talk more openly about what you feel and whatever this is. But it may feel tumultuous at first, but you're going to realize how strong you are, and you're going to realize how tricky and deceptive this environment or this situation was as you sort of step into this power. Okay, so let's also get you some astrology guidance, and then we're going to finish off with a card from the Golden Path for what pathway you should be following now. So for astrology, we have full moon, the harvest, reaping what has come, letting it go. Like this is the reach the full moon, then the new can come in. But it is a cycle. Follow the cycles of the moon. You will be very attuned to the cycles of the moon. Saturn, because this is about the old order, the powers that be. And also, what is your discipline? What is your grounding? What can you be? It's like, this is really a kind of a cry to liberation and to the new. But Saturn can work for you as well too, in that it allows you to see the cycles again of time and the capacity to build your own vision and to stand up against that which is not right. And fixed. I think you actually, once you have released the sense that you somehow have to succeed even in a situation that maybe is deeply flawed, which is, I think, is what's going on here. Once you move past that and you get into the cycles of things, then you need to be quite fixed on who you are, because you're going to stay, you're either going to draw people to you emotionally because you're such a light worker and you're so strong. You may draw these sort of people to you quite often in terms of relationships, and you've got to be able to really assess that and be fixed in what your principles are and fixed in what you are moving forward towards, so that you make good material choices, you don't get beguiled. I think that's necessary. And if you're going to be, in a cause or something like that, you have to stay fixed to your ethics, because there's something about the environment you're in, if that's the case, which is not particularly ethical. Okay, so last but not least, let's get you a Golden Path card for what the goddesses would like you to focus on moving forward. Good fortune. Okay, well, I think that's just basically saying you're moving towards, you're turning this wheel of fortune around. Whatever this is will feel a bit tumultuous, I think. With Pele was going to, and with the 8th house, it's going to be intense. So if this is a relationship that you just have to let go of to bring in something new, or that needs to transform significantly, and you've got to be clear on what you need and want, and that you will only be in the relationship under those circumstances, you can turn that around, or you can move away if it's not going to do that and bring in something better. And certainly if this is a cause, because what you're on is the side of the light, then you will bring in good fortune once you get yourself aligned with these cycles. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 1. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. Actually, I just want to adjust this. I think that the camera's a little bit skew-with. There we go. Okay, so I must say, this is pretty clear what this is about, I think, from looking at the goddesses that have come up to join Aphrodite and the astrology sort of energy to center what this is about. So I think if this doesn't resonate with you, then try one of the other readings, because this is pretty clearly a reading about love. This is a reading about probably a soulmate, twin flame type of situation. Either one that you're having issues with, or one that's coming in, or one that you're in union with, but you're sort of like looking at the next step, whatever it may be. But there's definitely something around that, because we have Aphrodite, who is the goddess of love and beauty, romance, and also self-love and being able to love yourself enough, which is, of course, very important when one is looking at very intense relationships. Coupled with Gemini, which shows an amazing meeting of the minds and probably telepathy and a high degree of communication. This is like, I think it's a relationship with someone who you could talk into the long hours into the night with. There's a very, very strong mental connection with this, but there's also a very strong sort of passion and sort of action-oriented connection as well too. We have Xenu, who is a Chinese goddess. Now, this is interesting because she fell in love with a mortal, and her parents didn't really approve of that. So she suffered a bit for her love, I have to say. And ended up sort of like being depicted in the Milky Way, separated from her love, but the soulmate was there and was always connected. So this is a star seed, star family type of connection. So this feels as though there is a connection between you and very sort of like karmic and potentially sort of both coming from a different place or a different planet or something, sort of energy around this. And it is interesting, it's with Mars. It suggests to me that one of the issues that you could be dealing with around this is the interference of others, whether it be family or workplace or competitors and rivals. So I don't think competitors and rivals could win with this. It's more like other people whose sort of action or aggression or domination may be impacting that connection. So this may be something that Xenu wants to talk to you about. And then we have Frigg, who is probably the top goddess from Norse mythology, the wife of Odin. And this is all about fertility, family, partnership. I think this is about a relationship that you're meant to be in. There could be some battles around it that Xenu is going to be here to help you with, but I think it is meant to be. And there's a very strong soul connection because Frigg also is connected to sort of soul partnerships, telepathy, that sort of psychic connection between people. And you've got Neptune there. So this relationship is either supported by, and you deal with some of this energy by the incredible sort of like spiritual connection between you, or your spiritual abilities and understanding of that are going to become heightened by actually going through this relationship and coming into contact and so forth. I do think there's a very high telepathic thing here. It could be possible that for some of you thinking, well, I'm not with anybody at the moment, that this is actually about something coming in from the 5D and you're just starting to get the sort of sense of it coming through. So pay attention to dreams, meditation and so forth if that is the case. But I think Aphrodite wants you to have enough love for yourself and for your own beauty and for the brilliance of your mind, because you have a very brilliant mind, and how that can connect in a sort of incandescent way with this person, with the star energy to get past any blocks that are there and to make it take action and come into being. And Frigg, I think it's meant to be in the longer term. We'll see what we get with further cards, but I feel like this is a very positive thing, but there is a battle or something associated with this, so we will get a little bit more information on that. So to start with, I want to have a look at 3 cards from each of the goddesses to give you a bit more information on their perspective on what I think is a single thing, which is about a love relationship. Then we're going to get a little bit more from some oracle cards for each of them before we then get further insight from tarot. But to start with, just 3 cards for a little bit more of their message to you from each of them. So from Aphrodite, we have 6 of Cups, Page of Pentacles reversed, Knight of Pentacles reversed. Okay, so one of the things that Aphrodite might want to talk to you about, and I think this is where the self-love aspect comes in, is that there's something right from your childhood potentially. This might be also why Frigg is here, where maybe some of you didn't feel particularly secure in your childhood with the Page of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles reversed. Some of you may have come from broken homes, or some of you may have felt that the way you communicated and so forth wasn't fully understood. Like you may have felt like you were literally in the wrong family. Not that you didn't love your family, because this is quite a nice energy, but there's a sense of like, is this my home? Is this my place? Which I think is very interesting with the starseed thing. So I think that some of you may have felt, I love my family, but I feel like I'm very different to them. Or you may have come from a broken family or something like that with both of those Pentacles cards reversed. And for that reason, maybe in your mind, the way that you think about and you talk about relationships or even about yourself may not be conducive to you sort of going towards your true love and so forth. There may be almost a little bit of inherent pessimism or a sense that you're different and you're always going to be different. So I think Aphrodite is here for you to have that self-love and to understand that there is your family and there are your soulmates, and all of that sort of thing is meant to come through. But don't judge your future by your past, I think she's saying. So I think it's very interesting, therefore, that we got one that sort of talks about starseed, and it seems to be something in this about being different and about maybe aggression or domination by others that I think Xenu is here to help you deal with. So let's see what she has to say. Tower. Oh, wow. Okay. Fool reversed. 6 of Wands reversed. Yeah, okay. So this is the breakthrough thing. Like I am convinced that anybody who's come to this reading, there's some sort of programming that was put into you when you were quite young, I think. You're not necessarily consciously or out of, this doesn't mean that there was anything really wrong in your family, but you didn't feel you felt like a stranger in a strange land. And it did make you feel not seen. with the Six of Wands reversed. But this relationship, you've either just come across it and it's not your socks off, or one's coming in that's going to with the Tower. And the good thing is it's saying that you can learn from the past and not let people, it's almost as though, it actually feels to me like you might have had almost a dry run of this, Polto. I think some of you that have come here may have come across a relationship that was intense and wasn't really your soul twin, but it was almost like an echo. I've seen this happen where sometimes before people meet the one, like the really big Tower relationship, they may meet almost like it's like an echo. It's like a version of it. And it's kind of put in your pathway, not because it's the one, but it's there so that you can learn from it, so that when it comes through, you understand things. So this is what it looks like. It looks like whether it was something you saw in your family, patterns you saw in your family that you were wise to, that you wouldn't let happen to you, or whether, as I say, you've been in a relationship, it's broken up, or it's still on off, but it's not, it isn't actually the one because one is coming through. It's to prepare you, because when Tower relationships come through, they change everything. And this is what, I think a true soulmate or twin flame is like that. That's pretty much the kind of energy that we're talking about. And it can be, and I often say this, that because it's so intense, fear can come in, it can stop action and so forth. So I think Xenu is wanting to say to you that you know the patterns that could get in the way of this. You're wise to those. Allow this energy to come through. It's significant. Don't be afraid of it. And that she'll be there to sort of help guide you. Because Frigg over here wants this to be a long-term relationship, family if you want it, fertility if you want it, but certainly that sort of sense of, and kind of almost a power couple. There's a real sense here of finding your same level. So if you think about it, Frigg and Odin, the ultimate Norse power couple. So let's sort of see that. But she also thinks there's an enormous psychic connection here. So let's see what she has to say about it. Seven of Cups. Hanged one, Two of Swords reversed. Okay, she's saying you don't trust your psychic ability. You don't trust it. You kind of like, because for you, I think something around you were probably one of those kids in your family who saw all the patterns, and maybe you're a truth teller and it wasn't appreciated, or maybe you could see when there were fault lines in things, around your family, around friends, all of that kind of thing. But you really like to see the evidence of it. Like you don't want to just sort of believe it. So when you kind of have these sort of psychic impressions, because you're highly psychic, you have a tendency to go, oh, is that real or is that delusion? And you get a little bit stubborn about what it would take to convince you, and therefore you don't make a decision. So I think Frigg is here to say, it's going to come through. It's going to be kind of undeniable on one level, but you're still going to try like hell to deny it because you deny your own ability in this. And yet this is key. If you're finding someone from your starseed family or whatever it is, and it's going to have a very high order psychic connection, but don't get stubborn, and don't think it's just illusions, because you're going to be called upon to act, because there'll be forces or energies around to make you doubt. So Frigg doesn't want you to doubt. Xenu doesn't want you to doubt. Xenu in particular doesn't, because as I say, given her rather sad history, she knows what can happen when other people get involved. For some of you, because of that sad history and these energies here, it might even be that the person that you love, your family doesn't approve of. But there's a connection there that goes beyond that, if that's the case. It could be culturally different, those sort of things as well. Okay, so let's get some other energy from each of them. Firstly, from the Life Soul Vision Oracle, and then we'll have a look at sort of like signs or symbols that might tell you that you're processing their advice. So firstly, for Aphrodite, Queen of Air, Light Language, Gemini. Gemini is, in fact, the sign for the Queen of Swords. And I think all of these queens, there's the 4 queens in this deck, and I think they align very strongly to the queens within the tarot. So this is saying that there's something about the way that you speak. Like, I think Aphrodite is wanting to say to you here that you're going to come across someone where there is a mental mind connection, and it's more than that. It's psychic as well. It's soul family. But the first way you're going to experience this is that, like, you're just going to want to talk and talk and talk. It's just a really strong mental connection, and to use that, to leverage that. That lets in the light, literally, because it gets past old sort of like slower energy that's sort of slowing everything down, and it gets to the core of it. And it's almost like you'll start to realize this telepathy, which will help you actually understand this as well. Okay, let's see what Xenu wants to say. Sacral energy, creative charge. Okay. So this is about passion. Tower, it's going to be very passionate. I don't think you're going to doubt that, but you do need to back yourself on the passion, because I do think that there's sort of like a sense like maybe you don't feel that you're open to a relationship on that level, or maybe you don't feel like you would be attractive on that level. It feels like it's all mental, but there's a lot there, and Xenu wants you to kind of connect into that. It will give you the drive to go towards this if you are feeling doubt. And then Frigg, solstice, celestial stillness. Okay, she's saying, look, I agree over here, feel into the passion. It's going to help you understand the extent of this. You got the kind of the volcano energy, which is a bit like the tower energy. It's sort of lightning and fire and all that kind of, like, by all means, and talk yourself stupid. You're going to really enjoy that. But you also need to sometimes just slow down and get within and see how profound this psychic thing is. Don't use the talk and the passion to almost dull this so that you don't see it. It's almost like, it's not that you would trivialize it exactly with this, but it's like, this is where the profundity is. This is where it's the one. This will be fun and great talking, and there's passion, but you've got to get to that still point where you understand how profound this connection is, and you have to accept that some of that has to do with your spiritual connection and your spiritual ability. Okay, so let's see the signs that might show up when you're hearing the advice of these goddesses. So when you've got into the self-love and the enjoyment, the sort of intellectual enjoyment of this that Aphrodite is saying will help you, we have a dream vision. Oh, that's interesting. This came up for another thing, birth and babies. So there's something, and this is something about fertility here. So I think that you might dream about birth, about babies. You might see babies a lot. You might pass, by couples with babies a lot on the street, that kind of thing. There's that sort of thing. And I'm literally getting a vision of you sitting in a coffee shop with this person, with your person, and you're talking up a blue streak and having a great deal of fun. And then there's like children around and they're sort of laughing. And there's something about that kind of energy. But certainly if you start dreaming about birth and babies, I think it's an affirmation that something is being born here. So I think that Aphrodite wants you to sort of feel that. Let's see around this kind of like passion against the odds type of feeling that Xenu wants you to sort of connect with. And that's an oracle message. Flow. Okay, so this is, when you're in the flow. I think Xenu is saying that don't stop the passion. Don't sit just in the head. Like go with the passion of like the attraction, because it'll get past some of these doubts that you've had and things that you haven't liked, and allow you to be in a tower energy in a way that's in flow. And it is, in fact, the absolute best advice when you are around a tower energy of any sort is to go with the flow. The only time tower is really a problem is when you fight against it. I mean, yes, sometimes the tower can bring down something that you would have preferred not to have, intellectually you would have preferred not to have had, be demolished. But later on, if you go with the flow, you see it was the best thing that could have happened. But if you push against it, then you get into all sorts of, it's much more complicated. It's much more sort of like tumultuous as an energy. So I think it's like, let yourself go. Zena was saying, let yourself enjoy it, And then with Frigg, around getting into this, profundity of this connection, we also have an oracle message. Trust. Trust yourself, trust the universe, trust this person, trust that connection. You really are very psychic. I just don't think that you fully believe it. Even if you might go to lots of these sort of readings and go, yeah, I'm psychic, but I think on a really fundamental level you don't. You're always looking for evidence. But this is like, if you get within the stillness, there's something about this relationship that's part of the evidence. Okay, let's go back to a little bit more tarot, and let's ask what these goddesses think you know about this situation now, and then also what you don't know that could be helpful. So what you know about the situation at this point. Knight of Wands reversed, Eight of Swords, Ace of Wands, Five of Swords reversed. Okay, all right. So you know that you vacillate between a kind of a mental stubbornness and a mental blockage and a kind of push-pull around passion. So you know on some level that for you, and this is why you have to get to the profundity of this, that you either like to keep relationships light and in the head or just passionate, But you know, if you had to combine the two, that becomes harder for you to do. You know, you have to trust a lot more. And it's like, you know, you're avoiding the groundedness of it to some degree, because I think you've sort of seen this in either past relationships or in friendships. So you know that you can feel passion and then you put the brakes on it a bit. But on the other hand, that you tend to sometimes hang on to things after a point that they're going to work for you. And so it's sort of like one side of you thinks, oh, no, I can't go into it. But then when you try, you will hang on past a point that it is necessary. This is why I feel like there's been an echo relationship before this. So you just need to understand that pattern. And also, and this is why frequencing is so important, to understand what's different about this one coming through. So let's see what you don't know, because I think that's actually going to be more important than what you do around this. So, Four of Pentacles, Five of Wands reversed, the World reversed, Two of Wands. Okay, what you don't know is there is something from your past, whether it's your family, and it could be right back to your family, as I said, or whether it's a past relation. You haven't fully let it go yet, so you're not fully letting anything else in. So I do think maybe you've had a kind of an echo soulmate type of situation. And because of that, you haven't fully resolved your issues around that. So you kind of like, you're almost sticking to sort of something just to sort of prove it. But like, it's almost like there's something coming through, this new thing will come through, and you might resist it because of this past thing. You haven't even resolved the past thing, but there's certainly a pattern. And what you don't know is all you need to do is make a decision to sort of move forward to the energy that's trying to come through, Ace to the 2, and you would be fine. But there's something that you haven't let go of. A person, a pattern, a belief about yourself, a belief about love, whatever it might be. And really fully understanding that would allow you to understand what was different about this energy coming through. Because as I say, tower relationships are never easy, so you've got to fortify yourself for this. Because it's like, particularly with the Xenu energy, you know, other people could get in your head or whatever if you're in that doubt mode, and then you let that happen. So yeah, there's something. Look at whatever this pattern is. What is the pattern that you're not letting go of? And understand it's just a choice to act in a different way. Okay, let's see what archangels can help you. Raphael, self-esteem. Yeah, healing around self-esteem. There's something. A past relationship's really done a number on you, or something from your childhood, or friends who are actually frenemies. There's something like that. This is about Raphael healing you to make you understand this is something different. But that's why Aphrodite was the lead goddess here. You have to love yourself. And you know, if that means starting with your brilliant mind and loving that, and then going into passion, and then eventually accepting how psychic you are, that's fine. But like, just, you have to do that. And another archangel for you. Zavkael, courage, Saturn, yeah. The courage to really understand what's going on here. Zavkael is, you know, very, very much about beginnings and endings and so forth. So the courage to end what needs to be ended, the courage to bring in something that is karmic, something that is long-term with Saturn, something that could be, you know, a family. Particularly if any of you have come from broken families, it may be sort of harder for you to accept you could head into that sort of a situation. But Zavkael is here to give you the courage to be able to do that and to see yourself, see your own spiritual sort of strength. So let's get you some stars, some astrology energy as well before we finish up with a card from the Golden Path. So some astrology energy for you, pile 2. North Node. Yeah, this is fate. Sorry, it is. And look, I shouldn't say sorry. I actually think it's going to be wonderful. I just think you need to believe that it's wonderful. It could be tricky. There could be sort of forces working against it. You've got to deal with your own stuff, let go of whatever this pattern is. But you are heading towards your destiny with this. Water, yeah, an emotional sort of connection. Yeah, like what do you love? Who would you love? How would you love? And it also makes me think a lot of the kind of energy of the sort of psychic soul connection as well here. And Chiron, healing, yeah. This is about healing yourself and maybe healing the other person. So this is a very profound and positive thing, but it does take some courage, and it does take self-esteem and an understanding of your patterns. Okay, so we're just going to finish off with a card from the Golden Path Oracle, just to sort of see the pathway that you are on, or that the goddesses want you to consider being on, to really maximize the best out of this incoming relationship, pile 2, or the relationship that you're in that you're trying to sort through. Jade Mountain. So this is about finding what is precious, and about the heart, like, going up the mountain peak towards the heart, the green colours and so forth. Very propitious, with jade. Jade is a very propitious stone, so could be worthwhile having jade around you, actually, as part of this. But this is meant to bring in something that clears the energy, that is beautiful, that is heart-centered. So and very mystical, so don't doubt it. Trust. I think that's the key card out of all of it. Trust. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 2. I do think some really lovely love energy is coming in, if it hasn't already. But it is going to be a little bit of a mountain to climb because of past patterns, but you can do it, pile 2. I absolutely believe you can. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Other than that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Ishtar, and she's being joined by Saint Therese and also by Shakti. And you're an interesting group, I have to say. I think there could be a number of different things that are being said here, some that are kind of connected and some that are quite separate, and it'll depend on who's here. I do think there's a very strong connection between Ishtar and Shakti, because in some ways a very similar sort of energy. Ishtar was the sort of divine feminine back in the Sumerian religion, so very, very old deity, all about feminine power, about sexuality, about how to bring heaven to earth, all of those things. And you've got that energy with Pluto, so something massively transformative. So for some of you that have come here, and it doesn't matter what your gender is or how you're identified, there is something about a great rising, almost like a phoenix rising, around your feminine power, your divine feminine, your creative and sexual energy, very, very strong. And it's interesting that it has a kind of a Kundalini feeling when it's combined with that sort of representation of Pluto. And Shakti talks about Kundalini awakening as well. She's a Hindu goddess of sort of like life and creation, dancing, movement, energy, bringing things into life. The interesting thing is that we almost have not a different or diametrically opposite energy here, but it's almost the balance of the continuum, because when we have Saint Therese, we have someone who would have gone into a life of celibacy. She was a nun, so there is that sort of sense of the feminine power, sexuality and creative energy, along with also the devotion, the simplicity, the empathy, the heart-centered sort of nature of Saint Therese. With the 5th house, which could be working it through children and so forth, could also be through creative energy and how you love. So there's a selfless love, a devotional love here, and also a very strong feminine power. And I think it's about bringing those things into balance. And I suspect what's happening with this is that for some, this could be about a major transformative relationship that brings love in, that is a truly devotional sort of love, and that in some way you either work together or you serve others together. In some way you create something together. So for some, this could be around a kind of power couple, or a couple that come into being and go into business together or work together or something like that. But for others, I think this might be about you coming into understanding your own power through the balance between that which is almost, when people talk about sacred and profane love, so sacred love, devotional love, and profane, not in a bad way, but the sort of sexuality, the sort of creativity, the force that brings life into being, the force that is empathetic to all life. One of the things about Saint Therese is that she really stood for sort of effectively diversity and inclusion. She said that if all of God's flowers were roses, then there wouldn't, or if we were all roses, then there wouldn't be the beauty. We need diversity. We need difference for beauty and creative beauty. With the 5th house here, we're going to later on look at some signs, but I just want to say here around her, a sign is often seeing roses. So when this sort of side about what would you be creatively devoted to and in love, whatever you would love. And it could be something that's a cause that you do in work. This, as I say, this could work out a number of different ways. then you may see roses, to connect to your very high degree of empathy. For some of you may be amazing healers, particularly around relationship, sexual identity sort of issues. That could also be coming out, the huge transformation. So it really depends. It's just a very interesting thing, but it's balancing this, because this, as I say, is the sacred, and then the profane is kind of a little bit more of this. It's sort of like in the body, in the movement, in the passion and so forth, which is how it then is shared with others. This feels more private. This feels more shared with others. But there's a very transformative energy going on. So you'll be changing how you are in relationships, you'll be changing how you love, you'll be changing potentially your identity in some way, or you'll be changing how you work. It just depends on who's come to this reading. So what we're going to do is we're going to use tarot firstly to get 3 cards for each goddess for what else she wants to talk about. Then we're going to use some oracles for a little bit more goddess by goddess. Then we'll bring it together with tarot and some other oracle cards. So firstly, 3 cards to really get an idea from Ishtar about this fundamental feminine power, creation of heaven on earth, and this regenerative, transformative energy that she's marrying it with here with Pluto. So, the Emperor reversed, 3 of Wands, Star, okay. Many of you may have been in patriarchal type of situations or in relationship energy where the male was too dominant. So this is about the transformation of the power and the birthing of the power. The concept of your true North Star and what you want to follow. So for some of you, this might be leaving a relationship and transforming your power. For others, it may be shifting the balance. And for others, there may be something in your own divine feminine and masculine at the moment that you will transform. As your divine feminine rises, some of the divine masculine has to pull back. So some of you maybe have been in very patriarchal dominated workplaces potentially, or you may have valued that or been in a family that valued that or a culture that valued that, but there's a very transformative energy, and it's a very positive one to put you on the right direction. So Ishtar is saying, let that rise. Don't feel that the divine masculine is the only way to be successful or the only way to be powerful in the world. Okay, so then Saint Therese, as I say, who is more quiet, humble, devotional, loving, empathic, and she's talking something about either love for you, romantic love in particular, or love for children, or creativity. So let's see what she wants to talk about. Lovers reversed. 8 of Pentacles reversed. Devil. Okay. She wants you to think about the patterns of who and how you've loved. And this is maybe we're getting a little bit about how this connects. I think that you may have been drawn to dominating sort of people and so forth. It's now your time to sort of like become who you are. And I think she is here to say that doing that is not the wrong thing to do. I think that there's almost a programming here where you would feel that you were meant to be humble and so forth. That's how the more dominant energy is there. But she's saying that's not actually what being humble is. That's not what being sort of devoted is. You don't have to be devoted to something that is not the right pattern or the right sort of balance of power. You need to unlearn certain rules that have been around relationships, whether they're cultural or that sort of people that you've been with or family or whatever it is. You need to kind of break free from that, because it is affecting your choices of who to be close to and who to love. And in fact, if anything, what's happening at the moment is you may even be shutting down love. You are going very celibate, very shut down to that because of old patterns about power that need to be shifted. Okay, so then let's see then if you've started to understand that. And it may in fact be you're shifting out of something that wasn't working. Saint Teresa is here to give you a little bit of a time where you are comfortable to be alone, to reconfigure how you would love. And then Shakti dances something into being. And if this is around work, it could be leaving a bad environment, allowing yourself some time out before you dance into being your new job. So let's see what Shakti wants to say. 2 of Cups, Queen of Pentacles, 7 of Swords. Yeah, she's saying, yeah, there's a process. It's going 1, 2, 3. So Ishtar, transformation, letting the divine feminine to come up, getting back on track for your North Star, taking a little bit of time out to look at the patterns that you've done and how you want to love and what love means to you, and what are some, because I think you've been taught to be selfless so that other people could be selfish, to be frank, and whether that was in your your like love relationships today, whether it's in friendships, whether it's in family. There's something about getting a different perspective on that and allowing yourself to work out what would be true to you in terms of love. Then the love comes. And it's something that you can feel comfortable with and in your strength with the Queen of Pentacles here. But you'll always have to be aware of that balance. I think that many of you, either in a workplace or just in who your nature is, you'll be around other people who are powerful. You'll be around people who are jockeying for power. So Shakti is saying, dance in what you want, but always have the escape clause if necessary. Always know how to negotiate what you want. And certainly if this is around finding the right business partners, the right people to work with, you can do that, but you're going to have to negotiate it, and you're going to have to kind of keep a long-term watch on it. Could it revert back to that energy? So, but you certainly have the intelligence to do it. That's not a problem. But there's also saying here too that in what you can help others with around their sort of resources and so forth and how you serve people, that's something that will bring the right connections in for you as well too. The more that you're following your North Star rather than just playing the games, the better. Okay, so let's get a little bit more oracle energy. So firstly, just a deck that looks at a whole range of different sort of spiritual energies. So I'm getting a card for that for each of the goddesses, and then we'll have a card for each of the goddesses around signs that you're connecting into their message and working with it. So firstly, just overarching energy for each. So for Ishtar, the wishing tree. Okay, so basically Ishtar is saying, yeah, you've suppressed your North Star for long enough. You know, the wishing tree is saying you can bring in what you want, whether it's love, whether it's, you know, great career, whatever it is where your power has been suppressed a bit. This transformation allows you to start to articulate and bring in what you want. So some of the thing to do here is to be thinking about what is it you truly want, as opposed to what you feel you've had to respond to others for. Which again is why we've got Saint Therese here, because she's saying like there's a difference between devotion and subjugation. So what energy also is she wanting to say? Earth Star energy, sacred ceremony. Yeah, this is grounding. You need to ground this. Something is a bit ungrounded in all of this. You're too selfless. Ground that. Yeah, because this is the chakra that's beneath the root chakra. It connects all the chakras, but it is definitely a sort of sense of how, you know, who you are at your core. I would be saying for many of you, and it's interesting, it's the 5th house here, but I think the 4th house in your astrology chart is very important here. Like, who are you at your core? Because that's what your IC, that sign on the cusp of your 4th house can tell you. So pay attention to that. And Shakti, in terms of dancing in the new, creating the new, solar plexus energy, stand in your light. Yeah, you know, like you have the power, you have the energy. You know, this is creativity. This is a sense of who you are. And I find it really interesting about solar plexus energy here. Pluto has very much the solar plexus sort of colouring in this deck. So I feel like it's definitely saying this transformation is towards power and self-esteem. Okay, so let's see what signs might show when you're really connecting in. So with Ishtar, to defining what it is that you want so that you can go and change whatever gets in the way of that. This is an oracle message. Nature, Gaia. Okay, so anything about being out in nature, it's interesting, it's a tree here too. I think it would be saying that you know, being in nature would help you, but also thinking about the sort of broader environmental concerns. What's sustainable? What would you want to be your legacy? What would you do if you were the goddess of heaven or Gaia? You know, what would you do for the environment? All of these sort of things, I think, help you decide what your North Star is. Then for Saint Teresa, in getting this balance right of devotion and love, is also an oracle, and that is focus. Okay, so she's saying that is about focusing. Your focus has not been on the right thing. When you feel that you're focusing on that which is grounded and that is balanced and is caring, empathic, inclusive, but is not self-denying, that is when you will know, when you can focus on something and focus on what your dream is without feeling that selfish in some way, because you're not. You're selfless. You're too selfless. This is what these cards are saying. Okay, so then we have Shakti. What's the sign that you're really starting to bring it into being? And this is also an oracle. Action, yeah, okay. the wish to take action, the wish to do something, the wish to make the change occur. So this is like the internal change where you reconfigure what you want to achieve. Then this is the focus. What does that really look like in a balance of your sense of self and love, but also this sense of caring for others? And then you take the action once you're strong enough to take that action. Okay, so let's go back to tarot and ask what you do know about this, and then also what you don't. So firstly, what you do know already about the message that they're bringing to you. Justice, Six of Swords, Nine of Cups, Nine of Pentacles. Okay, so you know that you're on the side of the angels, and you are. But you also know that maybe somewhere along the way with the Six of Swords reverse, you've lost your pathway. This is why it's important to sort of get back to what is the first principles of what you want to do. You will always do the just thing. This is the thing. If you worry, if anybody's been saying to you, if you think about yourself, you're being selfish, and as I say, it's because they're wanting you to think about them rather than yourself. It's sort of like, be aware of that sort of thing. You are very, very balanced, and you will be able to do this, but you know that you've kind of got a little bit off sort of target. You also know that you can be happy alone. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be, but it does mean that you don't need, the second half or somebody else or any of those sort of things. You could be happy to be alone. I think that the point, though, is that maybe you're focusing more on that than anything. You're focusing more on the sort of abnegation. But you do know that you can, there is joy in that for you as well. I just think that the other goddesses are going, yeah, but, there could be more for you. So let's see what you don't know at the moment. Page of Wands reversed, Ten of Pentacles reversed, Ten of Wands reversed, Ten of Cups reversed. There, you could be happier with someone, or, in a group, in a different workplace, however it plays out. Yes, you are strong enough to stand on your own 2 feet. Yes, you are spiritually very selfless, all of those things. But you're taking on more of a burden than you should, and you're denying yourself the longer term benefits of things. You're denying yourself passion to some degree. It's almost like you did a bit of a bargain with the universe, like, I will be like the saint trees here, as opposed to really living into all the other energy that you have. But you're actually going to be getting the happier outcome if you allow some of this energy to release. It's just about balance, and you are balanced, but you've got to trust that you're balanced. Okay, so let's get you a couple of archangels to help you with this, to give some sort of backup support to the goddesses and their message to you. So we have Zadkiel, forgiveness. Okay, there may be a need for forgiveness around certain people, because I do think that some of you have been a bit exploited. This doesn't necessarily mean that people meant to. And often that stuff is really unconscious. But you may have to forgive that, or forgive yourself if you feel that you got off path, or that you kind of acquiesced to sort of like energy that you shouldn't have, to keep the peace or whatever. There's a sort of an energy here to allow the past to be past so the full transformation of Pluto can come through. And Raphael, healing again. Healing. This is about healing you, healing others. I think you put a lot of effort and store into healing others, and that is part of your life path. This is the devotional side of things, but also that just living into the sort of sacred sexuality and the real sense of self. This is part of your healing as well. Okay, let's get you some astrology, some stars to guide your way as well. Virgo. So this is about getting things in sort of material balance and like healthy habits and healthy balance and so forth, looking at the details and working it through. The Sun, yeah, and following your life path, your North Star. This is about you starting to really own who you are in all your glory, not just in the sort of sense of this huge heart that you have, caring for other people. And Capricorn, yeah, it's earthy signs, like bring this into the earth. This is the thing, maybe. Your love is very emotional and philosophical and almost detached. There is a real need to earth and ground this, and bring in what you will do, and certainly around work, you know, to like get your life path is very material. There's a material outcome for all of this for you. It could well be for some of you with the healing and forgiveness that is you do something in that way. You help others with this as a career. Anyway, to finish off, I'm just going to pull a card from the Golden Path for the Golden Path that your goddesses either want to say you're on at the moment to enjoy, or one that they would say consider to be on. Intention. Okay. Yeah. They want you to really think, to focus. You know, Therese wants you to focus on the balance. Ishtar wants you to be transformative in an intentional way that takes you towards your life path. And Shakti wants you to be intentional, you know, and take action that brings in, you know, that manifests this in a material way. So for some of you, it will play out around work, I have to say, or around a business. But for others, it's about the work of connecting your sense of self and your sense of love, your sense of like your sense of wanting to support others and supporting yourself, just getting that focus, that intention right. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 3. You actually have a really lovely energy, so I really hope you can hear the message and get this into balance and have more of the joy of life for yourself, as well as the joy that you give to others. If you enjoyed the reading, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.